Boo, I'm Terry Krueger, the sweetest psychopath you'll ever meet, and it's 12 midnight and painted up like trash, and I'm here to bring you another set of little horror stories. So hopefully you enjoy sweet dreams and pleasant nightmares. Pretending to be asleep doesn't work. A young boy is sleeping in his bed on a usual night. His footsteps outside his door and peeks one of his eyes out to see what's going on. His door swings open quietly to reveal a murderer carrying the corpses of his parents. After slightly propping them up on the chair, he writes something out on the wall using the blood from one of the bodies. He then hides under the child's bed. The child is scared beyond belief and can't read the writing on the wall, but he knows the man is under his bed. Like any child, he lays over pretending to be asleep with the whole thing, as still as the bodies quietly as he can hear the man softly breathing under his bed. An hour passes and his eyes are starting to adjust to the dark. Still can't quite make out what it says yet. He tries to make out what the words say, but still struggles. But gasps when he makes out the sentence. I know you're awake. And the bed starts to shift. What's in the basement? Mommy told me to never go in the basement. I wanted to see what was down there. It sounded like a puppy and I really wanted to see it. I opened the basement door just a little and tiptoed down a bit. Mommy then yanked me out and screamed at me to never go down there. She's never yelled at me before and it made me kind of sad and I cried a little bit. She then gave me a cookie and made me promise that I'd never go back down there. And it made me feel better, so I didn't ask her why the boy in the basement was making noises like a puppy and why he had no hands and feet. The new old house. The boyfriend and I purchased an old house. He was on construction duty, converting the old kitchen into the master bedroom, and I was on wallpaper removal. Old owner covered every inch of the walls and ceiling with it. Removing it was brutal but oddly satisfying. Kind of reminded me of when you get a sunburn and you peel off the skin and try to get the longest piece. I kind of started to make a game out of it, peeling off to get the longest piece before it ripped. I noticed at the corner at the bottom of the piece of the paper there was a name and date on it. It was on several of them. Curiosity got the best of me one night and I decided to Google it. It ended up being a missing person. The name and the date matched to what was on the back of the paper. So I decided to make a list of all the names and dates. And yep, you know it. All of them, missing people. I had to call the police and just report it. They opened up a crime scene investigation. I overheard one of the texts saying, "Yup, it's human." It's human? What's human? They then turned to me and say, "Ma'am, what you're removing isn't wallpaper." I hate it when my little brother Charlie has to go away. My parents constantly explained to me that he's sick, and I'm lucky to have a brain where all the chemicals flow through like an undammed river. About how bored I am, and then they would tell me it's unfair, that his boredom sure surpasses mine. I always begged for them to give him one last chance. Of course they did at first. Charlie has been back several times, but each time a shorter duration than the last. Without fail, it always starts again. The neighborhood cats will be found with their eyes gouged out in his toy box. My parents are now hesitant on using last chance. They say his condition makes him charming enough and makes it easy for him to fake normality, so the doctors think he's ready for rehabilitation. Put up with the boredom of it means staying safe from him. I hate it when Charlie goes away. It makes me have to pretend to be good until he comes back. Crying isn't gonna help. I pointed the gun at the sick bastard who killed my wife. He sobbed in fear for what was gonna happen, and I pulled the trigger. Maybe if he spoke and tried to reason with me, I would have let him live. But that was obviously not going to happen. After all, he was only born a few minutes ago. My brother and I packed our bags, getting ready to go on a camping trip with our father and uncle. We threw the bags in the car and jumped in with our dog. It was like any other camping trip we had ever took. It went about as normal as always. We'd done it a million times before, so it was nothing new. Our dog must have caught eye of a rabbit or something and took off running ahead of us. Me and my brother ran after him, but we just never caught up. We spent hours and hours looking for him. We eventually had to give up because it was getting dark. We walked back to the cabin to find our dad and uncle and told them about the dog. They told us to stay put and that they would go look for him. I got hungry and decided to go make myself something to eat. My brother was watching TV in the living room when I heard the faint bark of our dog from the kitchen window. I was excited that our dog came back, but something didn't seem right. I went around to go check, but I grabbed my rifle. I told my brother to wait inside. As I come around the house, I see my dog standing there at the end of the tree line. But it didn't seem right. He seemed still if he had been taxidermied. Although he was completely still, his tail was wagging, and I could hear faint panting and barking, although his mouth wasn't moving. As I got closer, I realized his eyes were moving back and forth. But they weren't like his. They were more human. As I looked down, I noticed his front paws were different. They looked like little hands. I was so frightened I pulled up the gun, and as I did, my dog stood on its hind legs and ran back into the forest.